Good morning. It is indeed a privilege to be able to be here and express myself and exchange ideas. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone involved in allowing me this opportunity here. Mahalo. Thank you very much. Let's just pause for a moment as I reflect upon just something very simple. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Namo Abhidhammas. I think there's well, I shouldn't say that there's an error, but I think every school of Buddhism tries to address why did the Buddha appear in this world? What was the Buddha trying to say? And that's probably why we have so many different schools, because each one says, I think. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is another person expressing their perception or the ideas to, I think this is what he wanted to say. However, I'd like to make, I can only speak for my school, excuse me, which is the Pure Land School of Japan, and how we perceive what a Buddha is. First of all, in our school, a Buddha is not like a god or something like that. The word Buddha itself literally means enlightened one. Enlightened one means one who's free of attachments. And I like to use the Buddha's life, or perhaps when he supposedly became enlightened, to express perhaps a theme of my talk today, what's going on in this world, or what's going on. Shakyamuni, at the age of 35, is said to have attained enlightenment. He made a vow 49 days prior to his enlightenment. I will not stand up from my sitting position, my meditation, unless I become enlightened. If I do not, then may my life end. Prior to making that statement, or prior to sitting down, he was well respected by a group of fellow seekers of enlightenment. However, after deep meditation, everyone noticed that Shakyamuni received a bowl of milk from a maiden. And in the Buddhist tradition at that time, it wasn't called Buddhism at that time. At that time, it was prohibited for one seeking the truth to even speak to one of the opposite sex. So when they saw that, they said, oh, you're full of baloney. You've gone off the edge. How can we follow somebody like that who broke all the rules? So they decided to abandon the person, Shakyamuni, seeking the truth. Then after that, he went into deep meditation. And it is said that on the morning of the 49th day, he touched the ground with his finger. And there he attained what is known as enlightenment. What is enlightenment? I don't want to talk about technical things, but hopefully bring it down to our everyday language. I often refer to enlightenment as the aha moment. Aha. Another word in using Chinese characters means to awaken, to become aware of. So it was his aha moment that he became different, and people said, or the friends who had abandoned him said, why do you look so different? And he would say, there's nothing different about me. No, there's something different about you. What makes you so different? And Shakyamuni said, I'm no different from you. No, but what makes you feel different? Or what makes you seem or project yourself as being different? So what he said next is often referred to as the turning of the wheel, or the beginning of what is known as the Dharma, or his lessons on the path of life. Anyone familiar with Shakyamuni's first message? We have Kwan there. It's often referred to as, anybody knows, the Four Noble Truths. Does anyone remember the first Noble Truth? Anyone? The recognition of what is known as suffering. Or in today's world, we call it negativity. Yes? And what's the second one? It's suffering is caused by desire. There is a cause. However, what causes the desire? I'm going to go even a little deeper, Con. Where does it come from? Ignorance, where does ignorance come from? Human nature, yeah, that's true, but Shakyamuni went on with his next to say that there's a way to be free from this. And that is, if you go back and back and back, it's because of our self-centeredness, we call it an ego. And because we have something that's called an ego, it's so strong that it literally controls anything and everything that we do. And so what is often referred to as causes of karma is body action, speech, and thought. So it's all centered, that's the cause of our sufferings, or what is known as karma. It can go both ways. And the third of the Four Noble Truths, go on. Cessation, okay. Oh, now we're having more people, great. Yes, he said, if you think I am different from you, then there is a possibility for all of us to be free from what is known as attachments, from suffering. And what is the fourth? Anybody? Yes. You're all correct. Okay. That there is a way. And he listed 8 different ways, and he said, this is what I follow that helps me to become the person that I am. So the whole point is, what made Shakyamuni different was he became himself. How many of us wants to be ourselves? Okay, good. You're better than most people I know. They all say, I want to be like somebody else. But the truth is that we can only be ourselves. And this is what Shakyamuni was saying, that to find true liberation from what is known as suffering, one has to find oneself. One has to be oneself. And I learned this from my son, believe it or not. He was about 5 or 6 years old. We were home together, and he was playing with his Lego. Then all of a sudden, my son said, Daddy? I said, yes. Do you know what I want to be when I grow up? Oh, this is the big moment. Maybe he could be a doctor, kind of expensive, but lawyer, well, we don't have any lawyers in our family. Well, and you have all these so-called expectations or ideas as to what you want your son to be. So I said to him, yes, you tell Daddy what you want to be when you grow up. Daddy, when I grow up to be a big guy like you, I want to be, yes, tell me, I want to drive a dump truck. And you can imagine, as a father who had all these big expectations, oh, what a bummer. Well, I said, and for whatever reason, I just said to him, well, if you're going to be a dump truck driver, be the best dump truck driver that you can be. Be happy with who you are and what you are. Okay? And going back to his, who we are in our lives and how we project lives and what's going on, anybody has an idea or would like to share what's going on in our world? Any ideas? Everybody happy with what's going on in our world? We're going through some unusual times, I think. And this particular question has bothered me for a couple of years, and it's been bothering so much that recently I've been focusing on what is the Buddhist perspective as to how we can resolve issues. And going back to Shakyamuni's enlightenment, these are what I do. This has helped me, the Eightfold Path. And although it's called the right Eightfold Path, right speech, right thought, right action, I have issues with right. So recently I've changed the right to say appropriate. What is appropriate? Appropriate speech, appropriate thought, appropriate actions. And so using Shakyamuni's life, and recently there have been great teachers who have helped me to define even such words as, what is a Buddha? And for that reason, I want to say again that a Buddha is not a divine being that's separated from me. There was a great teacher who passed away several years ago, and some of you may recognize the name Thich Nhat Hanh. And he did something, he talked about the 3 treasures. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, the words, and Sangha, the family. And in the end, he says, who is Buddha? What is Buddha? And he said, Buddha is you. Buddha is me. So a Buddha is not something that's separated by myself, but you yourself are a Buddha. You are a great teacher to others. What you do, what you say, how you think will have an impact on everyone else. And so what it also tells us and asks us, if it is true that for every action there's a reaction, if what we do today will determine what happens tomorrow, who is that finger pointing at? Is it pointing outwards or is it pointing to ourselves? Again, the teachings of the Buddha, he was just sharing, this is my life experience, these are my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but I'm just sharing these things with you so that you can have your own personal aha moment to realize who and what you are and your responsibilities as a human being. If you want to know what your tomorrow is going to be, think about what you're doing now. And the concept of wisdom and compassion, wisdom comes from knowing the issues. Wisdom comes from experiencing the issues. Wisdom comes from understanding yourself. Compassion comes when you feel as if there's a deep understanding of each other, and then we're all in it together. We're a big family, a universal family, and I think this is what the Unitarian Church is about. We're one big family, and in Hawaii we call it Ohana. What is the word? It's a Hawaiian word, but I wanted to explain its origin. The Oha, from which is the main word of Ohana, refers to the top of the taro plant. Anybody ever saw a taro plant? Anyone? It's a root, but there's it's a core, and from here a stem comes out and you have leaves. In Hawaii, we don't have the taro itself, which is considered the main staple of our diet, does not have seeds. So what they do is they take the top of the corm and they plant it again. That is called the oha. And in Hawaii, on the island that I served, it was called Kauai, they're famous for their taro. And I enjoy taro very much, so I felt that I wanted to plant some taro for myself. So I went to a local farmer, a taro farmer, and I said, can you sell me taro? What you want it for? I want to plant the oha. Can you sell me? And his reply to me was, I'm not sure where you come from, because I came from a different island, the island of Hawaii. He said to me very sternly, here on Kauai, we don't sell family. We do not sell family. But what we do is, as farmers, we share the extra oha with others so that they can not only plant, but it becomes an extension of the family. So this is part of the roots of Hawaiian culture. This is part of the roots of perhaps what Shakyamuni is trying to say. If we all realize that we're part of a universal family, how would we treat each other? As the prayer says, if you notice, it's always black or white, this or that. But is there a middle path? Is there one better than the other? Think about it. There's always, to me, something that's the middle path. And to demonstrate that, I'll ask a simple question. When we say sugar, what comes to your mind? Anyone? Something sweet? How about lemon? Sour. Is it right? Is it wrong? It's what is appropriate, perhaps? If you're having a nice piece of salmon, would you put sugar on it? Or would you put lemon on it? Okay? So it's what is appropriate. And for us to say this is right or this is wrong, as a human being, expresses our ignorance, that we haven't seen through things, that we need to know that there's two sides of a story. And even in our modern times, we have great teachers who have helped us to understand that. I think I'm old enough to remember Mother Teresa. Who remembers Mother Teresa? She received a Nobel Prize for her peace efforts. And upon receiving the award, does anybody remember what she said? When she was asked the question, Mother Teresa, what makes you such a compassionate person? What makes you such a compassionate person? Anyone? Yes, Helena. Yes. She was very, all she said was, I know deep inside there also dwells a devil. I know deep inside there also dwells a devil. So what you're saying basically is that I know I can do this, but I chose to do that because I know what the consequences are. So she chose what is known as the middle path, realizing that you need a balance. It can't be all this way, it can't be all that way, but it's only when things balance out, it becomes even. So perhaps as we reflect upon the question of what's going on in this world, we need to reflect about who and what we are and our responsibility or our part in what is known as life itself. Using the great teachers like Shakyamuni and all the other great teachers that came along the way as examples to help us live that path, walk that path. And I'm not, endorsing anyone, but I remember a great speech that inspired me many, many years ago, and I still remember it. And I think some of you will remember it too. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The future depends upon each and every one of us. So let us use the teachings that whoever we feel close to, whatever we feel close to be the guide that helps us to see or create a better future for all. Again, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude for everyone who allowed me to be here, and I'm hoping that our paths will cross again. Thank you.